when I teach, my students all have desktops. The thing I loathe more than anything is that every single one of my students sees their computer monitor and a wall. They don't see me, their backs are turned to me the entire time they're on their machines. So there's no interaction with the students, and that is a very big pain point for me. And one of the things that I will tell everybody before I got here is that before I started the Google path, I hated Google. I didn't want anything to do with it, didn't want any of my students ever touching Google, because according to Google's terms and conditions, which any of you who are business law professors or teachers, you know those terms and conditions say that Google owns everything in your personal Gmail account. You didn't know that? Oh, come on. Business law, don't you read the terms and conditions? Do you know my Samsung television has a terms and condition that says that they agree to share, I agree by accepting their terms to share all of my media watching, all of my media interactivity from my smart TV with anybody who wants it. And that if I continue to use it, I agree to those terms. Oh yeah, and it's how many pages long? So, you know, I talked to them about that. I talked to them about my students, especially, you know, the gentleman who changed his credit card agreement. Have any of you used that one? He changed his credit card agreement so that he wouldn't have to pay. And he signed off on it, and he made changes to the terms. This is over in the, I believe it was in the UK, or I forget exactly where it was. And if you want, you can join my Google Classroom, which I'll show you at the end. And I can share those resources with you. If anything, and before we go further, I give you my information. I'm going to share the slides with you. If at any time during the school year you have a particular problem that you're stumped with, please reach out to me. I have resources, and I will go and find something, because my classroom is maybe like some of yours. I have students that are from all walks of life, and my students range in age from 14 to 21. I am a general ed and special ed teacher, so my classes have students in the business classroom that are both third grade reading level, I would say, to AP STEM students in the same room. So teach 30 kids that way and see how that works for you. It makes you become so much more resourceful. And I was telling some of the folks that are here that have made offers for you today that are some of the resources that we have right now are absolutely phenomenal. These resources allow us to do a lot. So when did Google enter the classroom? Does anybody know when Google became a classroom tool for teachers? How long it's been? 3 years. Google Classroom has been actively released to all schools, and it's free for all school districts for 3 years. And in that 3 years, 1 billion assignments have been turned in through Google Classroom. 1 billion. And I look at it from my tree hugger perspective. 1 billion pieces of paper did not have to sacrifice themselves. So this is one of my favorite things, because we'd really like to know how much of an impact Google has had on our teaching practices and what they've allowed us to do as teachers. So with any new tool, and again, this is only 3 years old, with any new tool we have some changes. And I always say, I can't believe they did this, because every time you have a problem, does anybody who use Google know how to get that feedback to them? In Google Classroom. Lower left-hand corner of your Google Classroom is a little gray circle with a question mark in it. If you click on that circle, it will lead you to an option to take a screenshot of what you are looking at, and if it's student information, you can redact the students' names, and it'll allow you to blur the students' names and identifications, and you can say, look, I really love it if Google offered me this as an option. And in response to those every year, Google's team who's gone from, or Google for Education was 1 person for the first 2 years. Now we're up to 5. So there are 5 people servicing the global Google for Education community. And it's awesome that there's 5 people doing this. But there are a lot of people like me. They call us the Google Evangelists. So we go out there, we've had a sip of the Kool-Aid, and we're spreading the word to everybody we meet. And the things that were a lot of pain points for a lot of the teachers this past year have been the ability to reorder classes. As more teachers are using Google, they have those cards. You know when you first go to your Google Classroom and there's that card of all of the little pictures of your classes and the name of the class and the class period or whatever you've labeled it as? Sometimes their order kind of gets a little screwy and you like first period first and then second period, then third period. Maybe you want a little bit, a little different. Whatever it is that you want, you had to you stuck with it. So if I made a class now and then they said I wasn't teaching that class, I'd have to archive the class, get rid of it. There was a lot of steps. Now I can actually move it around. And that's a big change. The decimal grading. A lot of you who graded using Google Classroom stepped away from using the grading mechanism because they couldn't use decimal points in grading. Now you can. You can go up to 2 points. So if you do 7.867, it goes to 7.87. Yeah, I actually have a tutorial in my Google Classroom for anybody who wishes to join on how to do that. And it's a lengthy process, but once you get good at it, it's a piece of cake. You can. Can you do that? Yep. You absolutely can. You have to go into the home menu, and I can show you that. When we get towards the end, I will address those questions and try to hit on all of them. Yeah, I changed the name of a class yesterday. When I started, it was demo class, and I think I changed it to Summer PD 8/2/2017. So you can change that very easily. But there's a specific place. You can't change it from within the class. You have to be in the card view, and I'll show you what that is. So decimal grading and transfer class ownership. So I don't know how many of you have had an opportunity where you've had to step in for somebody. Maybe a teacher goes out for this, for the rest of the semester. My colleague, she was battling breast cancer, and I took over her classes, and 2 other teachers took over her other 2 classes, but we couldn't get in there and see the folders. We had to go in and get permissions, and it was all this convoluted way of getting to the students' material before we were part of the class. Now what they can do is if somebody steps into your classroom, they can transfer ownership of everything, including all material from the first day of class, to the new teacher. So let's hope that doesn't happen to anybody that you have to take a leave of absence from your work and somebody else has to step in for you. But know that that option is available and you can do that. The same way you can have co-teachers in your classroom. You can invite your paras. In my district, the principals and the supervisors are co-teachers in our classrooms. So they can pop in, take a look at what we're doing in our Google Classroom, and pop back out again. Let's see, what else? Oh, mobile selfies. Those are coming soon. I don't know about your student population, but regardless of the income of my students in my district, they have a cell phone. And if they all have a cell phone, I taught night school in Perth Amboy. Every one of my students there had a cell phone. So I did Google Classroom to their cell phones. So I made sure all my lessons were geared towards their cell phone use. What I found here is that the kids love to take pictures of themselves. I still haven't mastered the ability to do the selfie. So there might be 20 pictures of me with one eye shut and looking and saying, okay, is it working? I'm looking over my glasses to see because I've got the old lady specs going on now. But I could never get the right selfie in there, so one of my students decided to draw a picture for me. So my logo image is a picture of my cartoon me. And it's really pretty cool. She's a great artist, so I was like, oh, I'm going to leave that up there. But my students like to take a picture of their eye, or they take a picture of their toe, or they take a picture of their dog's nose, and whatever they're feeling for that day, they want to change their image on almost a daily basis. In Google Classroom, they're now able to do that from their phone. And before they weren't able to do that. So they can upload the picture right from their phone. And believe you me, they're going to figure it out way before all of us figure it out, or before I'm ever going to figure out how to use the selfie stick. All right? The IT department. So generally with high school, we just show them the picture of how to join the class. We show them the code. We write it on a board. We write it on a piece of paper. And the new setup, now our school district administrators can bring the entire list of all of the students right into your classroom, and they could set up your classrooms for you, and then later on you can go back and change them. So instead of, this is probably better for like the lower grades, the elementary students. In our district we have kindergarten that have Google Classroom. All right, so anybody can access it. And the IT sets up the rosters, and it just imported. It takes them minutes versus, it could take you an hour to input all the kindergartners' information in there. The full screen class code, I'm going to show you a picture of that in a minute. These are the 4 options that are here right now that you don't even need a Google for Education account, and that's Quizzes, EdSite, Kami, and Code.org. Those are all going to be integrated into Google Classroom. So they're coming in the next few weeks. They're hoping to have all that done by the time we go back to school in September. So they're looking for the end of August to have this done. The mobile selfie, again, that one they're looking for by the end of the year, or end of the year. I always figure that August 30th is the end of my year, and September 1st is the first day of my year. It's kind of a cute. And then another one that they came out with is I give a lot of the quick quizzes right through Google Classroom, and I use the forms, Google Forms, but I have to now grade them and then bring them into my Google Classroom, or I have to bring them into upload them into my Genesis portal for my grading. It was annoying. It was a lot of back and forth. So that was a pain point that a lot of teachers had, that Google has made changes, and now we are going to be able, by September 1st, to be able to import, as soon as we put a grade in, it goes right into Google Classroom for the quizzes. And if you're lazy like me, some of your quizzes will auto-grade themselves. So as soon as the kids hit submit, the grade's submitted, and boom, they have it. But when I want to give feedback, I make it manual grading. And that's one of the fun things, too, because now they're doing question-by-question feedback. So how is that important to you? Time and efficiency. So if I have 75 students a semester, and I give 75 quizzes, that means 75 quizzes I have to grade one at a time, right? That was the old way. Now I can grade 75 question 1, 75 question 2, 75 question 3, and so on. So that saves a whole lot of time for me if I'm giving a 5-question, short answer quiz. I can actually read all of question 1. So my mind is all on question 1, and I'm grading them all based on the same thought process, versus now I've graded question 1 through 10. And now for one student, now I've got to go to the next student, and I have to start back at 1 again. So it will make feedback a lot faster and grading a lot faster. So that one I played around with yesterday, and it was a lot of fun. The other one is workflow, and I'm going to have you take a look at this one. So let's say my student's name is Josh Cook, and Josh uses his phone, and he wants to see what assignments he's done, what assignments I've graded, what assignments he can access. Right now, as a teacher, I can click on his name, my student's name, and I can see all of their work. Before, the old way was you had to go in and say, okay, what assignment was that? So when Susie comes up to me and says, Miss Eden, my mom wants to know what I'm missing. And I said, well, you should know, because if you click on To Do and Done in Google Classroom, then you should be able to see all the items that you've done and all the items that you owe me. Well, can you give me a printout? No. I don't use my printer. I'm very proud to say that in the 3 years that I've been in Jackson, I have the same ream of paper in my printer. Because I will be honest with you, I do yell, who's the tree killer, if I hear that printer starting to turn on. Because there's no reason for them to print anything anymore. If they do anything in my class and they have to do it on paper, some students still need it. They still need to write. Take a picture of it, because I know you have a phone. You might need to delete one of those 1 million selfies to take a picture of your homework and upload it to Classroom. Really simple. And now they're like, I took a picture of my homework. Why don't you have it? I don't know. We can check and see. But this is probably my favorite change, is that now I can see what work's been done by which student. Then I take a screenshot and I email that to the parent. So I said, now I know what you're missing. Now you know what you're missing. There's also the Guardian option. Has anybody used the Guardian option yet? Where the parents get an email and they have to sign up for it. They came out with that last summer. I was the first one to jump on the bandwagon with that one, because I use Google every day in my classroom. I use it to assign homework, to make announcements, to tell them there's a quiz coming, to give everything. I do it all right in there. And what I found is that this year, the parents have been more responsive to students missing work. And I've had less of the, Miss Sedeyen, what am I missing? Because now they know their parents are getting the emails saying, you know, I'm missing this assignment. On the other end of it, I will say the negative is I've gotten a lot more interaction with parents than I've ever had before. I was averaging, and I mean, we did some changes. Now the students, if they're, and I'm not a big fan of it, but if the students make a 93 over 3 marking periods, they're exempt from their final exams. And in my business law class, I say you better watch that, because if you get me as a professor at Monmouth, you're getting a midterm and a final exam. And they weigh very heavily on whether or not you pass my course. So usually my business law students, the parents have to sign a paper saying that they agree with the exemption, and the parents don't sign them. So I had 27 kids, 11 of them were eligible for exemption from the final exam, and not one of them missed the final exam. Because their parents said, if Miss Sedeyen says that you're going to be taking these at college, then you need to take an exam. You need to know what it's like to have a portion of your grade, you know, pass or fail based on your scores on your finals. So in the 9th grade, the freshman kids, they're like, 93. What do I have to do? I have a 92.4. 92.4. Can't you give me the extra 2 points? Nope. I'll tell you, I'll be honest, nope, because when you're in business, you know, that 2% or 0.2%, I'm not giving you that extra, you know. And I'm only 4 years in education, so you know, I do have some place that I'm speaking from. You know, when we have the people who are complaining and you say, you know, back then, what was the unemployment rate? 10%? You know, complain, keep complaining. There's 10% of the workforce out there that would like your job, right? So these are the cards. So I have a lot of classes. And I took this little video yesterday. These were all my archive classes. But every time I want to reuse something, because as teachers, we had a really great lesson last year, and I'd like to reuse it, I can go back to my classes from last year or last semester and reuse an assignment, which is great. But I still have to edit it, because Google won't let me just copy and paste. I have to edit it and change whatever the date, the due date, what have you. But now I can reorder it. And what I did is, if you see that it starts off with FinLit period 2 at the top, I just changed my business law class and knocked it back up to the top. That's all I did, is I just moved it. And if you notice, if you see I can't pause this because it's a GIF that keeps playing. This is also where I can rename the course from that view. And that's just by the 3 lines on the top left-hand corner. Some people call the hamburger, which I think, you know, why we keep calling it food. There's the hamburger and the waffle. But on the 3 lines on the upper left-hand corner, that's where you change it. All right, so decimal grading we talked about already, so that's an option. We can do that now. I talked about the share code, and I'm going to have my share code with you for my class, so that on your personal Gmail account, you can add your information to my class, and then I can share any resources I have. If I find something that I think will benefit you, I'll share it out with my Google Classroom that I get you to join, please. So here I can go, that's a big enough one, right? But I can actually go full screen. And now I can have my join code in my classroom on my projector, and now my students can join. So this is new, right? A lot better than, I saw some teachers that used to print a full sheet of paper with the one join code on it and say, click here to join my class. Oh yeah, and I used to copy and paste it and then blow it up, and then the kids are like, well, I can't see that. You know, but I think they could see this, right? It's pretty nice. So the other thing we talked about was transferring ownership. I go to the About screen and I can transfer ownership. And here I have a list of, and you'll get a copy of this, my upcoming presentations. The second Saturday of every month, I do a webinar on a Google tool or a Microsoft Office tool. I think one of my Microsoft Office tools is using Mix in PowerPoint, so that you can do it's really cool. You've used Mix? I love that one. It's a way for me to do a recording on my videos. So I can do a recording that's timed to that video. Oh, it's awesome. And I do that one a lot too. So I want to know how I can help you with what the new name of Google Apps for Education, that's gone. We rebranded, so now we're Google for Education. So, or G Suite for Education, I'm sorry. Still got to get that new name out of my brain. I can actually put up my Google Classroom account here, and you can join if you have a personal Gmail account, in order to join my classroom, if you're on your EDU account, you cannot join it. But if you have a personal Gmail account, I am going to put up my classroom. And you'll be able to join my classroom and get any of the slides. And I have the Genesis portal, how to upload your grades from, or download them from here and bring them over there. So right now, that's my class. I'm going to go to Students. I'm going to click on the Options button. I can display it, copy it, reset it, or disable it. And now you can use that code to join my classroom, but you cannot be signed into your district email account. You have to be in a personal Gmail account.
And you can use a personal Gmail account to do a Google Classroom?
Yes, you can. But I caution you to remember about FERPA. Right? That's where the Family Education Rights Protection Act, where we make sure that the district owns all of our students' materials because they are minors. We have to ensure their technological safety, if you will, and security, so we have to hold on to all of their material within the district. But remember what I said at the beginning. Google owns everything when you use their personal Gmail accounts. All right, so go to classroom.google.com, and then you want to click on in the upper right-hand corner, you should see a plus symbol. And it should say join or create. You click on join, and you'll be able to join my class. Oh, she sent those out already? Oh, or did I? Oh, okay. So you've got, all right. I was like, whoa, that was pretty quick. So my slides are in there already, and there's also a PDF that I put in there that has the step-by-step instructions on how to use your Genesis, how to upload your grades to Genesis from Google Classroom. All right? Any other questions? Yes?
So if you assign an assignment to, say, 6 classes, and then you realize you want to change it.
You have to change each individual one.
Yep.
So what I will say is, because that's a pain point I've experienced too, is I would go into Google Classroom. Remember I said that little plus sign over here, the little question mark? And I could go in there, and you see that pop up there on the corner. I could say send feedback, and I could say, you know, and they'll take a screenshot, and I say I would like to be able to change all 6 assignments if I created them all. If they're connected to begin with, then I want it, just like when you're doing a recurring schedule, right? So if I schedule a meeting on the second Saturday of every month, and I change one of them, it's going to say, do you want to change all in the series? So I want to be able to see the same thing. In order for Google to make changes on the education side, they want you to use this feature, and in most every Google tool we have in education, they have that question mark somewhere. It's usually on the bottom left-hand side. And I think that's where it's staying, but Google changes a lot. So, and then, like I said, if there's any questions on there, you ask them, and the people who are on their answer forums are people like me, other trainers who've gone out there, and we actively are teachers in the classroom working towards getting you everything you need for training. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask, and I will be here for a little bit longer, and I will be more than happy to answer any questions. Thank you very much.